Mr. President, I was once a local government chairman, and somebody wrote a frivolous petition against me. Your people or the commission, without any investigation, detained me for several days. After investigation, I was released, and it was close to an election time. So I understood at the end of the day that the petition was just meant to make me lose the next election. But the question I have is that, don't you think that if a petition is written on someone for financial or economic crime, you should do your due diligence investigation before inviting and detaining the person? Because otherwise you end up detaining innocent people, and at the end of your investigation you find out that person has not committed the crime. Then what should the person do? Should he also sue you for detaining him, unlawfully? So my own question is that, are you supposed to just invite and detain a person on a petition from anybody? Or you must have concrete evidence that that crime have actually been committed? Number two, at least the hunter becomes the hunted. The EFCC is not also free of financial crime. I heard you say that there's that possibility if you are allowed to investigate the Senate President. So who will investigate the EFCC, sir? The House. So we also have the capacity to investigate you. So as you do your work, I want to advise that the EFCC should not be used as an instrument to fight political opponents. Because we have seen this clearly, that if you don't like my face, or if I'm contesting an election, for example, against the Senate President, and because of his status, you may decide to well into political issues instead of fighting political, economic crimes. And therefore, you take side. For example, this side of the divide, they are the ones in government now. And if I'm running an election with any one of them, they can use you. You have to tell this Senate that you will be immune of being used by any political high-level person to fight innocent Nigerians or label innocent financial crimes against them, to deter them from achieving their rights to contest elections. He said not only elections, any other thing. So please, because the only way you can prove to us that you are right to fight economic crimes is for us to see that transparency in you. It's for us to see that you are not being used by somebody. Tell us, assuming President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will say today, go and investigate, assuming but not conceding, no. Go and investigate such a person, and you know that the person is not guilty. Even if he's guilty, will you follow the due diligence of the law to do that investigation? Finally, I was doing it, sir. Finally, is there no synergy between the EFCC and the ICPC? Because in my own instance, I was investigated on the same issues by these two agencies. Is there no synergy? That if EFCC is investigating Mr. A on crime ABC, ICPC should not be doing the same thing on the same grounds or the same charges. Thank you.
Well, let me say
that is where we have gotten to. That everybody wants to dip hands into the treasury and all of that, and the incentives for corruption is all over the place. So I will do more in the area of blocking the leakages. Because also in the course of my carrying out study, fraud survey, I discovered that for you to, if you allow 10 naira to be stolen, you spend an average of between 3 naira 50 kobo and 4 naira 50 kobo to recover it. That is even if you are able to recover the 10 naira. But for you to prevent the stealing of 10 naira, you spend less than 1 naira. So which one is the more effective tool to fight corruption? Without downplaying the importance of enforcement, why can't we challenge more on prevention and let it begin with these allo chambers today? We discovered that in Nigeria, there is nowhere to run to. So I want to plead with these allo chambers. There is what we call transactional credit system. If we continue to allow Nigerians to buy houses, cash, to buy cars, cash, we don't have a very effective credit system. 1,000 EFCC added to 1 million ICPC will not do us any good. And that is the reality. We must create that atmosphere as lawmakers for people to have choices. Look, if I don't steal money, can I afford to train my children in school? Minimum standard. If I don't steal money, can I buy a car after I've worked for 5 years? If I don't steal money, can I at least put 3-bedroom bungalow in place after I've worked for 15, 20 years? An average Nigerian doesn't have a hope. When he has the opportunity, he will steal. And even if he doesn't have it, he will create one. And so you will now leave the law enforcement agencies and anti-corruption agencies to start running after them. Finally, distinguished senators, sir, I'd like to also for us to encourage our criminal justice system to work. We must, if we really want to fight corruption, anywhere the fight of corruption succeeds in the world, the substance is taken above technicalities. We must encourage our criminal justice system to educate in such a way that max prosecution doesn't take more than 5 years. Max from cost of first instance to Supreme Court. And I know these allo chambers can begin to work on that very seriously. And so if we make our criminal justice system work, you will see more of what the anti-corruption agencies are doing. And it will be better for all of us. On this note, I'd like to thank you very much. And I want to leave you with this. I did a survey between 2018 and 2020 of 50 entities in Nigeria. 50 entities, both human and corporate entities, between 2018 and 2020. And I picked just one scheme, one species of fraud, which is called contract and procurement fraud. And I discovered that between 2018 and 2020, 3 years, Nigeria lost 2.9 trillion. 2.9 trillion. Now, when I put my figures together, I discovered that this money, if we had saved, if we had prevented it, would have given us 1,000 kilometers of roads. In addition to that, we would have built close to 200 standard schools, tertiary institutions. In addition to that, we would have educated about 6,000 children from primary to tertiary levels at 16 million per child. We would have delivered 20,000 units of 3-bedroom houses across the country, and even more. We would have given us a world-class teaching hospital in each of the 36 states of the Federation. This is where we are coming from. This is where we are. Where we are going to go depends on the decision we take this afternoon. Thank you very much. The President of the Senate, most distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, JCON, who is just coming to take his seat. This Deputy President of the Senate, most also distinguished Senator Jibril Barau, CON, the leaders of the Senate, permit me to please recognize the leader, Senator Akpabio Bamidele, who happens to also be a senator representing my state. Permit me also to specially recognize Senator Yemi Adaramodu from Ekiti South, who happens to be my own senator from Ekiti South. Permit me to also recognize Senator Cyril, who also is from Ekiti North Senatorial District. Fashuyi, Senator Cyril Fashuyi, distinguished. The very distinguished Senate of the Senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I stand before you today as a nominee of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a father of the nation, to be screened and confirmed, if you so desire, as the Executive Chairman of Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. I'd like to especially thank and appreciate the President for finding me worthy of this nomination. I also like to put on record that this hallowed chambers had cause to screen me in 2018 as the Secretary nominee for Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and I was duly confirmed in 2018 by these hallowed chambers. So this is making me the second time of appearing before you, and I believe that the same gesture that was extended then will so also be extended. Having said that, my name is Ola Nikpeko Lukoyede. I was born on the 14th of October 1969 in Ikero, Ekiti State, southwest region of Nigeria. I started my education pursuit in 1974 at St. Luke's Primary School. From there, moved on to Annunciation College, both in Ikero, Ekiti. From there, I had a stint for my at College of Basic and Remedial Studies in Akure, where I had my A-levels. From there, I proceeded to University of Lagos, where I ran a program in law, diploma in law. From there, I moved to Lagos State University, where I graduated with LLB. From there, went to the Nigerian Law School, where I was called to the bar. By way of executive education, I had cause to be, I'm also an alumnus of Harvard Kennedy School, University of Harvard, and also University of Oxford in UK, where I had an executive education program in public corruption management. My career I started my career way back in 1995, even before I went back to study law. That was when I had my first experience as a fraud manager, when I was employed by an international company to carry out fraud management. That was where I had my first training. And from there, I went back to school. After I became a lawyer and called to bar, I was privileged to join an international company as well, where I started my career as a compliance manager and also corporate intelligence specialist. This job took me to about 3 continents of the world, and it gave me experience to interact with other key players in law enforcement around the world. By virtue of the job I did then, I represented the company to carry out what we call compliance management and regulatory compliance with foreign corrupt practices in the US, and also bribery act in the UK, where we carried out consultancy job for all international companies that are subject of those laws. And that gave me the opportunity of having an encounter with operatives in FBI and Serious Force Office in the UK. After my foray into that, I had the opportunity of also working at the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. First of all, maybe at least for the knowledge of the House, Madam Nuri Badu, we met first in 2006, I think in Washington, D.C., where I presented a paper, and he noticed me and he said, "Look, young man, what are you doing here? Why don't let's go back home and I've been the chairman of Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, see how we can support our country." So he gave me the opportunity of working with him as a trainer, and also as someone who rendered service in the area of prosecution support. And after that, when he left, I went back to private sector again and continue with my regulatory compliance work. And as fate will have it, I also went back again to law enforcement when I was employed as the chief of staff in 2016 to the executive chairman of Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Of course, as a chief of staff, you are like a shadow chairman. You are like the clearing table for the chairman. And after that, I also became the secretary in 2018 November. That is by way of my journey into the profession of fraud management and regulatory compliance. When this nomination came up, I quickly addressed my mind to the Herculean task that this is going to place before not only me, but the entire country. And so that helped me to come up with three-pronged approach, which I call policy objectives. In 1 minute, I'm going to present it to you. I came up with the first one that has to do with focus. And these are the principles that will drive me and my colleagues, if I'm privileged to be confirmed in EFCC. Number one, what is the focus of an anti-corruption agency? In a place like Nigeria, we need to redirect our focus. Section 6 of EFCC Act has given us what an anti-corruption agency should be doing. Number one, I believe we should focus on driving economic development. Number two, we must also create an atmosphere for transparency and accountability in running the government. And also, number three, we must help as an anti-corruption agency to build the international image of this country. Because if you don't do that, there is no way you will endure foreign direct investment. And so having put these three policy objectives together, something came to my mind. And I said, look, with this, how do we move forward? And I also came up with three posters that I'd like to share with you very quickly before I round off, and also present it before these allo chambers, so that all of us can put minds together and see how we can move forward in Nigeria. Number one is the need for collective responsibility. We need to get to a point in Nigeria where we need to come together on the same page and believe that corruption is a cankerworm to our development. We must come together and believe that financial crimes, the way it has overwhelmed our structure and systems in Nigeria, we can't move forward. Even if we are moving forward, it's going to be at a snail speed. And so where do we go from here? All of us must come together. It's not just the work of the anti-corruption agencies. We must agree. And I say this, everybody is talking about we need to fight corruption, but I have come by virtue of my experience to notice that it is become more of rhetorics than showing the commitment. And that's why I'm standing before you today. If given the opportunity, the time has come for us to show commitment. What do I mean? For instance, if I have the opportunity tomorrow to perhaps investigate the most distinguished president of the Senate, not even that, okay, let me use my senator Adramodul. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished senators, I noticed that my brothers on this side of the aisle are very excited that they should use the Senate President as an example. The distinguished nominee, look to this side, pick anyone, Senator Alero or anyone. Even Senator Ningi was the leader. Pick any of them. Leave the Senate President for now.
Now, the point I was trying to make is that if I should go after someone as an agency, the moment you open the investigation, automatically you become the enemy of the person. Not only the enemy of that person, you become the enemy of all his friends, you become the enemy of all his acquaintances, you become the enemy of all his family members, you become the enemy of all his party members, you become the enemy of all his professional members. And that is the way we have been fighting. And if we have this attitude, we can move forward. We must realize that this is bad, and we must support the anti-corruption agency to call a spade, no matter the relationship we have with such a person. And because even to the corrupt themselves don't even enjoy a good living, standard of living. For example, somebody has stolen money in Nigeria, as it is today, and you bought a Rolls Royce. Where is the road to drive a Rolls Royce in Nigeria? You have stolen money, you built a mansion in your village or local government. Won't you be afraid to spend a night there? Where is the security? Now, if you look at this trajectory, you discover that it's a sort of financial crimes and corruption that we have, all of us collectively, we've not really done much about. And I'm saying this with every sense of solidarity and every sense of patriotism, rather. So the time has come for us to call evil, evil. It doesn't matter whose resource is God. It doesn't matter who's benefiting from it. That's number one. So that must be collective responsibility. Number two, as I begin to round up, we must also, particularly for my colleagues in the anti-corruption platform, the time has come for us to begin to look at more of prevention than enforcement. Enforcement is a very strong tool in our hand. We are going to apply it very seriously. But again, I discover that the incentives are there all around us in Nigeria. And I'll give you an example. You see an average level 8 public servant who drives 2 cars, who builds a house. I mean, this is common knowledge. Everybody knows. Now, we ask ourselves a question. His savings for 30 years, all through his service years, can he actually afford to buy this car? But the problem we have is just like the proverbial monkey that was locked up in the cage, and you put a bunch of ripe banana in that cage, and you stand outside with a cane in your hand, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and you warn the monkey not to eat the banana, and you lock the monkey there with cane in your hand outside the cage. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. The monkey will think twice. What